Yeah,
All right.
he's a good guy in person too.
You ever heard of storycasting.com?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, they ask a question. Their premise is that their authors go there and they fantasize about what people they would like to play in their in their roles in their book and stuff. And
Right.
They ask,
Okay.
what actors would you cast in future TV movies or story casting, and how was your first experience in the field?
Okay. Of Harry Dresden. I assume?
Either one.
Okay. Let's do Harry Dresden. First experience in the field. We'll start with that. The TV show, The Dresden Files.
Right.
Could have been worse.
It could have been.
It could have been a lot worse. I was able to get in touch with Robert Wolf, who they had passed the actual production over to.
Right.
And we just kind of hit it off online. Because he's a gamer nerd too.
Good.
You know, while I was on the set, he was like, "Hang on, I gotta chat with my wife about something," and then he'd log into World of Warcraft to chat with her because that's where she was. And so I mean, he's that level of person. It's like me and him got along just fine. We talked about each other's D&D games and so on. And so it worked out well on the TV show having him there. I turned him over. I wrote up a kind of a series Bible for him of here's all the stuff going on under the surface that hasn't explicitly come out in the books yet.
Right.
And he's like, "Ooh, that's neat. I'll be happy to use this." And so that part went well. I got to go up and be on the set, which was cool.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in episode 8. In episode 1 about Bob, I'm doing my Stan Lee appearance in the background. I'm standing there with a BlackBerry, looking all cool.
I got him at home. I got to go back and look at him.
Yeah. So I'm in like episode 8 or something like that. And it was neat, and I got to go. I got to go to New York for the big Comic-Con there, and I got to meet Stan Lee, which was cool. I got to sit down and have dinner with the Vice President of Sci-Fi, David Howe, and Harry Dresden, Baltar, and Six were all at the dinner. And because David Howe, Harry Dresden, and Baltar are all British, they kind of clustered together, just talking British at each other.
Right.
And so I just had to man up and keep Six company for the meal. You know, I mean, it was hard.
I understand.
But that part was cool. But as far as casting in the future, if they were going to be doing like a movie, I would want Dresden played by Hugh Laurie. Or at this point, House. I don't know if you guys watch House.
Oh, that's a good choice.
But he is the master of snark. I mean, it is just so vicious. I love that. I only wish I could write snark as well as I feel on House. I love it. Or Will Smith for his ability to be insouciant to absolutely anybody. He's really good at that. So Murphy, I'd cast Gabrielle, possibly Scully.
Okay, yeah.
One of those two. But I mean, that's dream casting. I don't know if anything's
right. Well, yeah. Let's see. Also, let's see. It seems you have a set number of books for the Alera Codex. What do you have planned after that? Are you going to do more stories in that world, or are you going to?
It's possible I'll go back to it.
Right.
At some point, if I did go back to it, I would probably go back to it like years in the future. And then because the first, I would go forward like a couple of centuries, so you could see what became of the world as a result of all these things that happened in the first book, and then there'd be a new story.
Okay.
But as far as the next project goes, I've got this science fiction idea that I want to do called U.S. Marshals. I actually got half of the first book written already.
Really?
Yeah. Like 5 years ago, I started writing it. I had to stop when the Furies book sold. I had to stop so I could start writing those as a series. But I was halfway through, and I left my protagonist in a spacesuit in a decaying orbit over the moon with a solar flare coming on. He'd having just ejected from his ship, which self-destructed, and he's been there for like 5 years. But it was like dun 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 dun, dun and then nothing, and it's just been silent since then.
Oh well, let's see. Do you find you must do much research for your books? I know that. Did you live in Chicago? I know you live in Missouri.
No,
so did you have to do a lot for Dresden and his books?
I didn't do too much early on. Most of the research I did research. I went to the metaphysical sections of the bookstore. I picked up lots of books on current magical practice and belief. I went through their folklore sections and just drained them dry. Although I found out that really, if you want to research folklore and fantasy stuff, the best place to go is the children's section of the library. On account of they just tell the stories there. If you go get one for adults, it's an academic book, and you can't go 10 pages before you start hitting Freud and Jung, and you know, I mean, granted they're important and all, but they're not fun. And I'm not trying to write important. I'm trying to write fun. You know, so.
Let's see. We have our site also pulls in a lot of aspiring writers, so we got a lot of these questions, and we also have a writer's resource page. So one of the questions is, are there any pearls of wisdoms you care to cast to an aspiring writer with an original idea but no idea how to get it started?
Go check out my LiveJournal, which is full of articles that are intended for aspiring authors who have no idea what Storycraft is or how to go about building it.
Right.
And it's just a series of how-to articles of the stuff that I actually use on my own. I mean, I'm just parroting my teacher.
Right.
But, you know, I figured out that, you know, apparently it works. Because she taught me and I'm doing it. It seems to be working out.
Something.
And I taught my wife, and, you know, she's just sold her second series. So,
really?
Yeah.
And while we're talking about your wife, what kind of genre does she write in?
Romance. She writes romantic suspense, and then she's starting her paranormal romance starts in May.
Will she be at like the Romantic Times or anything like that, or?
Yeah, well, yeah. Every book she's written has been a like a 4.5 star thing in Romantic Times. They really love her. We've gone to that convention, which is a zoo. It's a madhouse.
I heard that it's just like a bunch of the cover models and everything.
It is. It is. There was like all the cover models, and they're all there being paid
to look beautiful,
being paid to look good and pretend they're straight and flirt with everybody. And then there was like one other guy there and me, so it was cool.
Yeah, my partner's mother goes there. She's a writer too, and she loves it. I think she goes for the partying, but
right.
Let's see. How much of the Dresden File book is already figured out in advance versus how much you develop while you're writing?
What I always know in advance is I always know the beginning, the end, a big flashy high budget special effects budget scene in the middle,
right,
and a bunch of one-liners, and those are the ones that's now, what I really know.
Where do you come up with the one-liners? Like when you're watching one of your movies or something like that, and you just kind of like, well, that's kind of cool, but what if, you know, how would it be like? How would Harry say it? Or
no, I don't really know. A lot of it comes just from the fact that I'm very frustrated in the one-liner department in person,
right,
especially at my house, because I'm the slowest-witted person there. I mean, I'm not slow, but I'm the slowest person there. My wife and my kid, they'll start in on each other, and it sounds like an episode of Gilmore Girls. I mean, that's how fast it's going back and forth. You know, and the only way I can participate is to give them straight lines, and then afterwards I could be like, yeah, okay, you hit me with an insult with multiple meanings that worked on several levels that was also relevant to the show that's on TV right there, but you couldn't have done it if I hadn't set you up for that one. You know? So, there's your spike. That was me.
That I have a problem with that too. Just not. Yeah. I'm always scatterbrained.
Yeah, see, I'm always thinking of things I could have said.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, you know what? I'll just put them in a book, and then you can say it there. See, Harry Dresden gets to be faster and more witty than you guys.
Let's say I actually wanted to know about your RPG that's coming out. The three of us are big gamers,
right?
So we'd love to hear about it.
Okay, it's being produced by Evil Hat.
Okay.
Which is the company a friend of mine named Fred Hicks runs.
Okay.
Fred's received several game design awards from at Gen Con for indie games. It's being used with a system called Fate, I think is what it's called at the moment.
Right.
And it's really cool and interesting. Apparently the book, what they needed to do to produce it was so big, and they didn't really realize, you know, how huge a project it was going to be until they actually got in the middle of it. You know, they've had to produce like 2 other game systems just to be able to build themselves up enough to do the Dresden Files. Now, once they figured it out, which is one of the reasons it's taken so long to get done.
Because I read on your website that it was coming out in April, but it's postponed.
Yeah, yeah. It's I'm not sure when. I think they're wanting to have it done by this autumn.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's like going to be like this freaking thick sucker.
Cool.
They keep sending me parts to go over and edit, and
And you get a lot more creative control over that, or?
Well, I mean, for that, I mean, I think it'd be fair to say I had complete creative control of it because, that's kind of a little bit more hostile than the way it actually is. Fred's been a good buddy of mine since we were both in college together and gaming together there, and so it's more like he says, "Well, what do you want this to be like?" And I'll tell him, and he'll be like, "Great."